It's the WOW Show, Women on Women. I'm Jasmine Shamsuddin.
I'm Joanne Tampopo.
And I'm Ning Zura.
Yes, and today we're going to talk about sex, baby.
We always get very excited when we talk about sex.
I know, right? Okay, with us is sex positive advocate Jasmine King.
Hello. Hi,
Jasmine,
Welcome.
thank you so much for coming. You know, it's been a long time. We've been waiting for you.
I'm so excited. This is one of my favorite topics to talk about, and I get to talk to y'all ladies. So yeah.
Okay, but before we start, I want to know exactly what a sex positive advocate does. This is your official job title?
Yeah. I run a platform called Just Explains, which is essentially a platform that normalizes conversations around sexual positivity, sexual health, and empowerment. And Sex Positive Advocate is basically a title that I give myself because I wasn't sure. I'm not an educator per se.
No, but it's such a, how would I say, appropriate title,
It is.
especially if you're talking about sex. You know, initially when I first got to know you years ago, and you were like, "Oh, I'm a sex positive advocate," I thought she goes into people's bedroom and while people are doing, yes, no, wrong. You know,
That's a cheerleader.
do it again. That is not the right way.
So on your LinkedIn account, that's your title.
I literally put the sex positive advocate,
Ooh.
and because the idea of sex positivity, it's basically this idea that sex is something healthy, is something natural. There's no shame that should be attached to it, and pleasure and all of that stuff are very important as part of human life, essentially. And so I wanted to talk about it in a very safe and empowering manner. Hence the title.
Right.
Hence, it goes to my question now. Why do you think there's still so much stigma? You know, especially Malaysian women, you know, surrounding women. Why is it so hard for us to talk about sexual pleasure or just, you know, our sexuality? Why?
I personally feel that I think sex is such a personal thing that especially when it comes to women and sex, the conversation around it is very much just about reproduction, just about children, and it stops right there. So, but when it comes to sort of sexual pleasure and performance, it's a lot to do. I think the conversation goes with the men. For women,
Awkward.
it's just reproduction.
Or it goes with the machi bawang. You know, have you ever stumbled across a whole bunch of aunties? You know, when they get together, oh my God, the conversation can be quite spicy, yeah?
Yeah,
Very interesting, you got.
exactly. Because I mean, we were taught before from our parents that sex is only for, like what you say,
Right.
you know, reproduction. But right now, we want to reclaim a lot of that as well. Speaking of which, you know, when we talk about reclaiming our sexual pleasure, especially for women our age, all right, of course, the young ones, every night pun boleh pleasure. But as you get older and your libido is a little bit, you know, on the low side, how can we reclaim that sexual pleasure that we had the zeal for in our youth?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I feel like I always say that I think as we grow older and our bodies changes and the way we look at ourselves and our values, it kind of changes. I think it's about sort of reintroducing ourselves to who we are now in this new part of our life and new part of our being. So whether it be sort of looking at sex and our bodies in a different way, that is not just for pleasure, it's also for sort of a sense of fulfillment. It's a sense of feeling good with our bodies and also kind of relearning all that we've been taught about, you know, our bodies and our pleasure. I don't know if I'm making sense, but it's kind of like relearning all that.
It is relearning.
Yeah.
You know, because like, okay, for me, like I'm 50 already. So when I first learned about, you know, sex and all that, like what you say, it was in school. So when we talk about reclaiming sexual pleasure, not a lot of women have had experiences that gives them pleasure. Most of it, you know, I think during our parents' time, sex was just a chore. It was just to satisfy your husbands, your boyfriends. And in fact, some women I've talked to have never even experienced an orgasm.
Yeah.
So for them, sex could be just routine. It's something which I have to do because it's just like I have to feed my child, I have to cook for my husband, I have to have sex.
Yeah.
But there's no pleasure in it. So for a woman like me who's single mom, all right, reclaiming this power as well, because, it takes a while because your self-confidence and everything comes into play.
Yeah. And I feel like, I've spoken to several women who actually told me that when they were younger, they didn't know what pleasure was for them. They were not allowed to explore this part of their body and, because maybe they have to take care of the kids. So priorities are a bit different. And once they become older, some of them then were able to sort of, okay, now the kids are away. Now I kind of have time to then focus on myself and what I actually am and who I actually am. So some of them would actually do so by maybe, the toys come in.
Well, it's also reconnecting with yourself as a woman as well.
Yeah,
it's like what you say, relearning, reconnecting.
Yeah.
So the key is for women to actually learn about their bodies and just understand and just be comfortable with themselves, isn't it?
Yeah.
But that's a bit hard, actually. Like you're saying, I'm in that zone of going to be like 50 soon too. After getting married, I feel like we're much more, because we were communicating more, right? But what about the people out there who do not know how to start or how to communicate with their partner? Even like a bit afraid of learning how to be comfortable with their bodies, because we're not used to it. So what would you advise to them apart from communicating with your partner?
Again, just kind of
explore.
I feel like, I think especially like, because especially I think going through motherhood, and this is something that my mom would also tell me that when you're a mom, when you're a wife, there's so much of your identity is connected to that. And then now it's kind of going back to who you are as a person, as an individual, and how do you go through that? It's sort of really, again, relearning. I mean, I keep talking about relearning and sort of re-exploring yourself and
every day
who
we're
you
learning,
are.
right? Yeah.
But it only happens if you are in that capacity to want to
Willing.
relearn.
That's right.
Because
That's
if
the
you
word.
yourself is like, no, I'm not a sexual creature anymore. I'm a mother. I'm a,
some people haven't even had that awakening, like I am a sexual creature, youth
Every women
and
are.
exploration. So, I mean, you talk about positive sex experiences. How can you have that even before you, say, get into life, like, becoming a married woman and having kids and all this, before all the life happens? I'm sure you have your tips.
I think conversations like this are very important. Finding a community where you can actually talk about what we're kind of going through and just learning from each other as a way to sort of just expand our minds.
Sharing, right?
Sharing and all of that stuff.
And the more we talk about it, then the more we're gonna like understand, right? Or else.
I think conversations with girlfriends are very important.
Yeah.
Conversations with women. Recently as well, and this is just very recent, in a couple of months ago, I connected with 3 other wonderful women, and they are my age. One is older. And the topic of sexual pleasure came about. And you'd be surprised that even though these women are business owners, they own factories, they are traveling everywhere in the world, the thought of reclaiming your sexual power, is something that a lot of women put at the back shelf. Because a lot of women prioritize everything else, especially if you're a mother. I prioritize my children. If you're a wife, I prioritize my husband
And family.
and then the family, and then you have relatives, because let's not forget we're Asians, so and it's not only your relatives, it's your husband's relatives. So all that gets into your bucket list, and then your bucket list that is, self-discovery, self-pleasure becomes like, I think it's down there. But I've got all this to deal with.
So I guess
I
the question
agree.
is, how do you prioritize
Yeah,
yourself?
how do you prioritize?
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I get the whole sort of putting everybody and then putting yourself at the bottom. And I think a big one for me is now, I am in my mid-30s and I'm kind of learning about sort of who I am as a person and who I am as a woman. And what I realize, and also this is also looking at my mom, who's actually a single mother and who's actually for all her life, she puts my sister and I as a priority. And I think for that, I remind my mom now as an adult is to really, you have every permission to put yourself first.
Yeah.
Because you yourself, at the end of the day, you are an individual and you've attached so much of your identity as a mom, as a daughter, as a wife. And now it's the time for you to sort of, giving yourself permission. Like that's what I always
No, absolutely.
tell her, yeah.
And just the other day, my son asked me, "Hey, are you dating anyone right now?"
They want you to date. I told you.
I was
Isn't it about time? Is it?
It's
Jess,
so sweet.
I did not download all that for you for nothing.
yeah, that was also something I asked my mom. Like, hey mom, did you go to any dates, ka? Like, you got any friends, ka? Like, go out and just have fun. And whether it be knowing yourself sexually or whether it be just knowing yourself for who you are.
Yeah.
I think the misconception is, especially for divorced women or single mom, it's like to show your children, okay, but all our kids are like teenagers and older, that you want to go on dates, that there's another side of you that needs healing as well. Because we are always taught like you are the mother. In this family, you're the mother. So you cannot show all this, how should I say, shameful activities.
But actually, what she's saying, her son is the one that's asking her, are you dating? So you can
if we follow our parents' era, the boomers and all that, of course, this, and as society, how would I say, progresses, your children, all our kids are exposed to like television and other things, and trust me, we are not talking about cartoons, right?
Wow.
So wanting the mother to feel happy as well, it's something like, hey, go on dates.
Yeah.
You should go on dates then.
Yeah, I'm going on dates. I am.
Cut this for the sound. But since I brought up the topic, there's always this shame, about wanting to have sexual pleasures. I mean, I should know. I talked about this like 30 years ago. That's how I started my career, talking about sex, where women don't talk about sex
and I
on
think
stage.
that was why you were so popular. It's because someone actually had the guts to actually bring it out in the open,
But trust me, there was also a counter effect because I was talking about sex all the time. People assumed that I was having sex every weekend.
Were you?
No, I wasn't. Trust me. No, I wasn't. But that's the misconception. And even up to now, because I talk about sex on stage, I'm very flirty. I go down, I tease the guys and all that. So sometimes in some events, and this happens so naturally, I wouldn't say naturally, sorry. This happens quite frequently where there'll be a bunch of clients and they're all very important because they got me to either MC or this. And when they drink, they become more flirty. Okay, actually more hams-up lah. They just become horny, hams-up man. And I remember quite clearly when I first had my event boy PA, this was the first month that he was with me. And this is such a big event, right? It's supposed to be black tie. I was on stage, they were all drunk. When the minute I came down, because I have this routine where I come down and talk table by table, they swamped me. And these are all guys. They swamped me. And then one of them, who's like one of the VVIP, was like, handsy. And the thing is,
I was just going to say like Lisa.
I'm sure, Nick.
I get it all the time with the fans.
You kat sini, aku kat semua, And the worst part is like, no one knows what to do. I was looking at my PA was looking at me.
Oh, I would just like that. Sorry, excuse me, just take photo, okay?
But
I'm married.
it's a little bit different
It's
for
hard,
me.
yeah.
Because
yeah.
like with Ning, you're also a respectable singer and all that.
Oh, but they will try.
Yeah, they will
lah.
try. But for me, I go down and I tease them.
'Cause they
So
expect-
for them, it's like, hey, you tease me already. What do you mean? I cannot touch you, is it? I mean, this kind of thing, no choice, because we are entertainers, you know.
Yeah.
I, of course, entertain people very differently from Ning.
Yeah.
But I guess as women as well, we just need to figure out how to
the boundaries, right?
the boundaries,
Yeah.
juggle. Because honestly, when
Yeah.
something like that happens, they all don't know what to do.
I always request for a
Yeah.
security around me because
There was
you
only
never know.
one event.
Sure, God.
Someone who came and saved me was one of the managers, and she was a pregnant woman.
Oh, wow.
She basically just came and said, no, she's going back to change. No, you all cannot follow her.
That's good.
Because they were going back.
Bless
They were
her.
following me to see which room
Yeah.
so that they could take a pic of me changing.
Sick.
Wow.
Yeah.
Out
Oh
of my
So this is
costume.
the thing, right,
This is
Jasmine? Just because
shameful.
you are kind of putting yourself out there in a
mm,
sexual way, in a sexy way,
Mm-mm.
people assume wrongly, or they make assumptions
Of
about
course.
the type
Yeah.
of woman you are,
Yeah.
and that can be an issue.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same thing with like the work that I do, you know, as a sex positive advocate. I talk about sort of safe sex, I talk about boundaries and sex in general, right? And I often get messages, DMs by my men especially, who just would ask like, so you're easy. So what size do you like? Or what, like personal questions that I'm just like,
Wow.
is this how you talk to strangers on you know,
On
some
DMs.
some of them
Yeah,
would be
yeah.
like, hi, would you like to be my friends with benefit straight on? And I'm just like,
No,
that is so weird. And I actually, if I have time, I would actually educate them and I would actually engage with them and I would ask them, is this how you normally talk to women or strangers? And then they would be like, oh yeah, it's like, well, it's normal. And I'm like, no.
So we have to
It's not.
confidently tell them, excuse me, you know, let's talk about something else
Yeah.
or let's just get
If
back
you have
to
the time,
right track. Yeah.
Some of us have no time.
Right.
So what about the women who's afraid of voicing their desire, of like actually saying this is going back to their sexual experience or with their partner, right? How do they actually voice their desire without, you know, making it too overly desired?
Are we talking about in couple situation?
Yeah, couple situation, or even with somebody that they just met, you know? Takkan nak tiba-tiba cakap, hi, we're on the first date. By the way,
These are my trigger points and these are my boundaries.
yeah.
Actually, you know what?
Subtle, yeah.
It's no, but I okay, so this is like a personal preference thing. I personally have I personally would say it out.
Yeah.
But like not outwardly where these are my favorite positions.
After
You know what
the
I mean?
third or fourth date,
Yeah,
lah,
I
of
would probably-
12 date.
My main thing is, okay, so I prioritize sexual health. So I'm always, you know, like, yeah, we get to know each other. And if I see sort of like, okay, there is sort of, I kind of wanted to explore further with this person. So there's always a conversation.
Chemistry.
Would you, yeah, like, hey, what are your views on safe sex? Or what are your views on
that's
sexual health and sexual
Yeah.
wellness? When was the last time you get tested? Which a lot of people find it very,
Ah.
very
When was the
scary.
last time you get tested? That
And
can
very
be very
awkward.
offended for
Yeah,
some,
yeah.
offensive for some.
Yeah,
men.
because I think like a lot of people and I've met men who go like, oh, you know, I'm clean.
Like, dude,
You're
you're not clean until you
You
get
are
certified by a
Yeah.
doctor
It's
or the
Give me
vet.
your test
Give me your
results.
test results. Yeah, they're always like, I'm clean. And I'm like, I totally hear you. I understand. But, you know, I want both of us to be safe
Yeah.
because this is my test. And the last time I did my test, this one, what about you?
Oh, so you actually bring out your test?
I do. I bring it
Okay.
up.
Wow,
It's,
that's so good.
it's, I know it's scary for some
Yeah.
people to be very forward like that. But at the end of the day, I want both of us to be safe.
Okay,
Yeah.
so in a scenario where you're talking to someone and you know you're embarking on this kind of not just emotional but physical relationship.
Yeah.
You're getting to know each other and you want to bring that up. What's the best way of bringing it up? Just going right in there and saying, "Okay, here's my test. Where's
No,
yours?"
okay. So I like to put in sort of just random questions. I would be like, oh, like what are your thoughts on safe sex? What are your thoughts on sort of sexual wellness? Is that something that is a priority for you?
Right.
And it doesn't have to be, we don't have to be wanting to be physical. It's just a general question that I bring it up. So I would gauge from there. Like, so let's say if they're like, oh, you know, for me, I'm clean. I don't really hook up with just about anybody. And that is an indication for me that, but it is a practice that I've learned over and over again. That it just became routine for me.
Yeah. And I think knowing this about the other person can enhance your pleasure, because then you're not stressed out about, oh my God, what diseases does this guy have?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And
they can always lie, you know.
Well,
that's why you need to see the paper.
But how
test
does
results.
What happens after? Does it become awkward?
No, well, maybe it comes with practice for me personally. So if we do have the conversation, and if they do get a bit like apprehensive and they get like a bit like, you know, I'm clean or everything like that, I'm like, no, it's just for both of us to know. I want you to be safe. I want myself to be safe. I want us to sort of enjoy. And if it came from a place of that, not saying that, oh, there's something wrong with you. It's more like, I kind of just want to know. I'm just curious. Same goes with like, what do you want from this conversation? What are you looking for in the future? And let's say if they are being very open about it and they go like, hey, so I do have something, maybe I have like chlamydia or something like that. So these kind of things, I also make a I make a point not to shame as well, because it takes a lot of courage to share this part. I've met someone who refused to have any, so even kissing is a no-no, because after we left, he just kind of told me it's actually, what is it?
HIV?
No. It was, I can't remember herpes.
Oh,
I have herpes. And with herpes, actually, if you don't have any flare-ups and if you take your medication, you actually don't transmit. So it is also our responsibility to also know the different types of infections out there, so that we don't get, you know, there's a lot of stigma
control
around.
for women should do, right? As well.
Yeah,
And
we need to
also for
educate
men
ourselves as well.
to understand and
So
give
there's
back.
one thing about being spontaneous, but also being prepared. You know, I mean, you got to have all that info first,
being responsible of yourself and of others.
Yeah, but there's something to be said about spontaneity.
I know. And it's
So before you rip his clothes out, Shaz,
Know what his test results are.
I mean, as with anything that's fun, there's always going to be a little bit of side effect, but you know, you take the risk.
All right, coming back to, I guess, pleasure. For women who haven't explored their own bodies, I mean, what's a good place? Where is a good place to start?
So, the good thing about nowadays is, okay, so back in the day, can I talk about porn? Is that okay?
yeah, that's okay for here.
Okay. So back in the day, you know, porn has been seen as something negative, right? But nowadays, there are such thing as ethical porn.
Ethical porn.
Yeah.
Okay, tell me a little bit. Now I'm interested.
So the thing with ethical porn is more so that it's porn that is created ethically in a sense where the actors are paid well and it's consensual and all of that stuff, and they get to choose who they act with. But also the kind of content that they create, more often than not, is actually content for women. Or content for queer people.
Not the other way.
Not the other way, because the normal mass porn is just the way they handle women, the way they deal with women is very rough and you know, and all of that stuff. But with ethical porn, it's actually like a softer sort of porn where consent, boundaries, and all of these things are actually talked about within within the performers themselves in the act. Of it.
So we just Google ethical porn.
Yeah, you just Google ethical porn. And so that could be one way to sort of kind of get to know this whole conversation about consent, about like sort of exploration within yourselves. But also, I guess just kind of knowing what you like and exploring within yourself when it comes to maybe masturbation or kind of.
So what tips do you have for women who do not want to go and see this ethical porn site, but if they feel disconnected from their body, you know, how do you tell them, like, look, you have to love yourself first, but don't body shame your own self, because people out there, until today, okay, people still do body shaming on my comments, on my IG or whatever. Like, ayo, you look like you put on weight lah, lose some weight lah. What has that got to do with anything? But it sort of like affects me, you know. What about the normal women out there? How to like really tell them, look, don't feel disconnected. Just find yourself, find your what do you call that? Mojo. How do you do that? How do you tell the women out there to be confident?
Listen to the wow. Listen to sex.
Listen to Wow Show.
Listen to Wow Show. Consume content that is
Yes.
sex positive, that is empowering, that is, you know, there's so many types of different content out there. And then we see all this content all the time because we see on social media and, you know, with the comments and everything. So what you consume within yourself, before you even go out there and talk to everybody else, what you feed yourself is very important. So if you're going to feed yourself with all of this sort of messaging where, you know, this kind of body is ugly or you're not worth it, you know, you're going to believe in that. So what you choose, whether it be podcasts, whether it be sort of the pages that you follow on Instagram or YouTube and all of that, those are very important. And, you know, we have a lot of books nowadays as well, the kind of websites and content. So the first, most important thing is you need to kind of change the way you think about yourself and who you are. Only then would you then kind of slowly...
And be brave.
Yeah, and be brave to kind of venture in. You have to, within yourself, what you consume.
Okay.
So, Jasmine, in partnered play, how do you, I guess, explore your wants and your needs for pleasure with your partner without, I guess, feeling a bit awkward and demanding?
So there are two things I can think about right now. One is throw it out to your partner and ask them what they like. So it's kind of like a reverse psychology thing. Right. Instead of kind of saying, this is what I want. And it's totally okay, by the way, to say that. But instead ask them like, hey, you know what? Let's have a recap on sort of, we've been together for quite a while. Let's talk about what is it exactly that we like nowadays. What do you like? Is there anything that you want to explore? I'm open to it. And then kind of listening to them, and maybe they might be open to then listen to ours, what we want to explore. That, or there is this thing called a yes, no, maybe list.
Oh, okay. I want to know that list because I think as well with new partnership, it's also something like, or even partners who have been together in a long time and need to rediscover their flame.
There's this list called the yes, no, maybe list. And basically what it is, and you can just Google this online. There are different variations. They are the most detailed one. They're the most basic ones. A yes, no, maybe list is basically, there are four columns. Are columns there are 4 different columns. And there is activities column, and there is a yes, there is a no, and there is a maybe list. So for example, in the activity list, it could be the word holding hands. So basically, this form, you and your partner, you give each other the form and you fill it up. So if it's holding hands, is it a yes or no or a maybe? A yes is a straight up yes. Yes, I really like it. I really want to do this. A no is a hard no. I do not want to do this. A maybe is I am
50-50.
It's 50-50. I'm not opposed to it, but maybe we can tweak it a little bit so that it could be a yes for me. Okay. So for example, the activities could be something simple as holding hands or kissing in public or hugging in public, all the way to maybe spanking, maybe introducing.
Where did that come from?
That was Jasmine is doing
edit that out.
Spanking. It could be dirty talking.
Actually,
and you know, it becomes, you know, very kinky towards the end. And so you and your partner fill this up. And then you switch the form, you switch the papers with each other, or the forms with each other, so that then you can get to see.
If you can't talk, you fill up the form.
Yeah, she has the form. We'll get it from her later.
And then you discuss and then you'd be surprised, like, oh my goodness, you actually like dirty talking. I thought you did not like it.
Yeah, because you're so prim and proper, right?
So that could be a conversation that you have. Yeah, you have your partner, or whether it be like role playing, like what Joanne said, that could be one activity. So yeah, there is a form out there, or you can even create your own form. Like just be creative and just kind of fill it
Just
out.
download it je.
Just download just
Yeah.
Do your own form lah.
Yeah.
What about toys? How can we use toys, intimate toys, to empower ourselves? Because you did mention that earlier on, touch base on it a little bit.
So, toys, a lot of times I think people mistake toys as being competition. But I think what toys is, especially, you're talking about sort of personally, but with partners, toy is a way, it's not competition, it's enhancement. It's kind of to help you. So personally, how can you sort of explore your sexuality with toys? Toys allow you to reach different parts of your body that you otherwise wouldn't be able to reach. For example, there's certain toys, insertion toys, especially for women, insertion toys that you couldn't do just with your fingers.
Okay.
So it's like a deeper kind of toy that's inside. And also there are some toys that are suckers. They call it the clit suckers.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So yeah, clit suckers.
Okay.
But really, again, when it comes to masturbation, a lot of times people don't prioritize masturbation, but with masturbation, it is a way for you to get to know yourself before you even have a partner to get to know you. You need to know what you like, what you enjoy, and then you're able to be empowered enough to then talk to your partner what exactly is that you enjoy.
Yeah. And where can we get these toys? I mean, it's not like I could go to my din.
Custom terus ambil.
Mana tu lah? Where to look
Yang
out?
pening microphone.
That's right. Kind of look like one.
You'd be surprised where you can actually order it from.
Yeah. I mean, we all know, but
Yeah.
for the other women out there.
You can get it online.
Yeah.
You can get it online.
Yeah.
I do know that there are some stores within KL.
Yeah, we're not going to out anybody. We don't want them to get raided.
No, not at all.
Okay, I mean, that's great. A sexual exploration by yourself. I mean, I've got a whole arsenal of toys because you got to try everything and see what you like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a great way to get to know yourself. I mean, if you just kind of want to go beyond just fingers. And so
Okay.
forth.
So some of us have hang-ups and issues. And for that, we should always, I guess, seek some professional help for it. How do you, though, on your own, reclaim your sexual power after, say, trauma? And that could be a health issue. That could be a relationship issue. That could be SA or things around the same type of those kind of issues. So what is your advice?
I would always say professional help. It's a very important way to sort of get over trauma, especially if it's a big trauma, like what you were mentioning, like with SA and all of that stuff. It might be scary for a lot of people to be able to, sit you're talking to a therapist and all of that. But I think therapist allows you to find ways to cope and ways to overcome it, especially if you feel that you alone cannot overcome it or go through it. That's where professional help comes to play. And then from there, then you sort of, based on what the professional help actually tells you on what to do, then you kind of practice that.
Yeah. And also, I know that, as we age as well, I mean, our bodies change and, we may have hang-ups about that as well. So how do you overcome insecurities in the bedroom? Because it happens to the best of us.
Yeah. So I'm personally, I'm a big girl. I'm plus sized and voluptuous. And I think for the longest time, and I'm talking based on my personal experience, I think for the longest time, I've been sort of conditioned by the media and by society that I am unlovable, that I am unwanted because of my size. And what happened with me personally is that I literally had to claw myself out of this whole, this limiting belief of my worth and who I am and, and all that stuff. And it's just really me sort of, again, the kind of stuff that I'm consuming, but also the people that I'm around myself with that allows me to see myself in a different light.
So it is also very important to get like-minded people who push you up instead of down.
Yeah.
Yeah, because a lot of times, like, this is a childhood trauma where you're constantly, being say, okay, if you cannot get a boyfriend, it's because you're fat. If you're not married, it's because you're overweight, and if you
Body
go for
shaming is
Chinese New Year's and all that, you see, at that time, body shaming is not a word.
Yeah.
I remember my first time, because I was starting to become a big teenager, right? So at the age of 10, it was cute if you were a little bit of chubby. At the age of 11 and 12 and 13,
Puberty already.
yeah, you go back to like your grandma's house, your auntie's house, and they will tell you not to eat so much. They say, oh, pui liao in Hokkien, pui liao cannot get husband. You cannot get married because you pui already.
That's
so
typical.
better not eat so much, and then they'll feed you. You have to. So there was no how would I say, positive body image. When I started comedy on stage, I was the only Asian big woman on stage looking like that and talking about sex and owning that. Everyone else is, and at that time in the 90s, everyone needed to be that cookie cutting shape. The Barbie doll of that generation. The era, there wasn't actually gray hair. There were no now you see plus size models
On the runway.
on the runway
Yeah.
doing bikinis, in two-piece and all that, and letting all their plus size beauty out to show the world. Before that, we were taught to I remember when I was 20 and 21 in Metro Jaya, Singapore, when I went to Singapore to buy a dress for my company's annual dinner, and because all the other dresses wouldn't fit, the sales girl brought me to the maternity department. Because she said, all no size. Yeah, XL. So you cannot wear lah. Come lah. Then she brought me. She's like, this one can lah, black lah. You just do
Did it
black.
have a bow on it?
No. and ruffles. But yeah, that was
not
it.
nice.
That was it.
Yeah.
And even when growing up at 16, I was already not even 16, 14. 12, 13, 14 were my fat years. And we couldn't buy clothes, pants for me in the children's department. So my mom had to buy male department, male pants, male trousers, for me to wear. And then auntie blouses, okay? And I was 14.
How did that mess you up?
Why do you think I'm doing this?
But I think what you're doing is great
I think
because
it's great.
you are the only one who's got the balls. I'm sorry to say this, but I'm not. Who goes out there and just, you lead the women to be courageous. You lead the women to be confident. You lead them to look, it's fine to talk about it. But nobody should body shame you. Nobody should do this because nobody else would do it.
There wasn't even a word. There wasn't even a word.
Yeah.
Body shame wasn't even a word.
Yeah.
There was no female empowerment talks. There was no body positive. If you're fat, you're fat. Apparently, if you're fat, you won't get work. You're fat, you won't get a boyfriend. If you're fat, you won't get a husband. If you're fat, nobody will love you because who wants to love a fei-fei?
But now it's different.
Yeah, but now different
it's
because
different.
they are fei-fei chasers.
That was when you were a teenager.
Where are they? I want to meet them.
Oh, trust me.
They're around.
They're around. But yeah, it's like and the best part is that all my friends who are plus size and older, like 40, 50, they're rediscovering themselves because there are people like that who like women like us, who want to be with women of this type of body. When we were conditioned to if
the society
if-
has
yeah.
accepted us now as in the
Now.
generation is just
because
not a
we've
big
been
deal.
taught kalau you tak kurus nanti tak boleh dapat jodoh.
No, I also feel like it's not like only right now that people like plus size people, plus size women. they've always been around for the longest time. It's just that the media tells us that, as nobody wants plus size women and we're not pretty or we're not worthy enough. But
not your generation now.
Yeah.
Our X generation did that.
But now, they're around. But yeah.
So what's your advice for all the teenagers out there, especially the young women, who wants to just like, be more empowered. Empowered and have more, understanding of their body. It's not just about sexual pleasure, but how do they actually do that in this generation to just come out and say, look, I am who I am? Teenagers especially,
By knowing that you're worth it, by knowing that you're worthy of love, you're worthy of care, you're worthy of someone showing you respect. Because a lot of times, especially I think, especially young women, for example, we're constantly, I remember when I was younger, I would feel proud if someone hot looked at my way or liked me. But then also at the same time, like, why wouldn't they? Because I am worthy of love. I am worthy of attention. That instead of going into a date or instead of getting to know someone and thinking, would they like me? The way I look at it now is, would I like them? Because I know I am amazing. I know I am a good person. I am a good daughter. I'm a good friend. So whoever I surround myself with must be of that standard, because if not,
this level,
then I would not want to be with them. Whether it be friendship, partnership, or whoever.
That's great advice.
All you need to remember is that standards must be maintained.
Yes.
Your standards, not anyone else's.
On that note, thank you very much, Jasmine. That was great.
Insightful.
Yeah.
Very much. Thank you so much.
Standards. Have them.
Yes.